Welcome to this explainer. Today we're doing something a little bit different, diving into these ancient 2,500-year-old poetic dialogues from a collection called the Saṃyutta Nikāya. Now, you might assume texts this old are going to be dusty and totally disconnected from our modern reality, right? But honestly, they actually hold some incredibly practical wisdom for the exact kinds of anxieties we all face today. I'm talking about our constant busyness, the fear of getting older, and that desperate everyday search for genuine peace.
So let's just jump straight into the ultimate paradox that sits right at the beginning of these texts. Think about this for a second. How do you cross a raging, rushing flood without staying in place, but also without pushing forward? I mean, it sounds physically impossible, right? Kind of like a riddle. Yet, this exact concept is the key to navigating the overwhelming, chaotic flood of our own everyday existence.
To really get this puzzle, we gotta set the scene. Picture Jetta's grove in Savatthi. It's late at night, and this radiant deity approaches the Buddha. Actually, there are 81 of these so-called midnight meetings recorded in the texts. You can almost think of them as these high-stakes, exclusive philosophical Q&A sessions, where glorious deities who apparently also have to deal with existential stress, just like us, come down to test the Buddha or simply ask him for the secret to crossing life's dangerous flood.
Part 1. The Relentless March of Time. This covers texts SN1.3 and 1.4. What's super fascinating about these specific midnight meetings is how quickly they establish the absolute urgent stakes of being human. The texts point out that time just flies by, and the different stages of life successively abandon us. We are basically on this relentless conveyor belt, moving from youth into adulthood, then to old age, and finally to death. And it literally does not stop, no matter how hard we try to hit the brakes. These texts are really shining a spotlight on our inescapable impermanence. Life is just swept along. Our lifespan is, in the grand scheme of things, shockingly short. And crucially, there's absolutely no physical shelter that can protect us once we hit old age. The danger of death is absolute. Now, they aren't bringing this up just to be depressing or ruin your day. They're actually using this stark reality as a massive wake-up call to motivate some urgent, truly meaningful action right now, in the present moment. Which brings us to part 2, good deeds versus true peace.
So when you're faced with this intense, very real anxiety about aging and having a fleeting lifespan, what exactly is the right move? The texts present a really fascinating debate here. The deity represents your standard, worldly advice, seeing the danger of death, you should do good deeds that bring happiness. Basically, hustle, achieve things, and build up a really happy resume. But then the Buddha comes back with this radical, transcendent reply. He says, seeing this danger in death, a seeker of peace should drop the world's bait. He's essentially telling us to stop endlessly managing worldly affairs and to renounce our attachments entirely.
All right, part 3, crossing the raging flood from text SN1.1.
In this specific text, that rushing flood we talked about symbolizes samsara, the endless cycle of existence and the heavy daily cravings that just overwhelm us. When the deity asks how to cross it, the Buddha goes back to that initial paradox. If you just stop, meaning you sink into apathy, laziness, or you just give up, you drown. But on the flip side, if you struggle and push too hard, exhausting yourself with restless striving and what we'd call modern burnout, the flood just sweeps you away. Neither of those extremes is going to get you safely to the other side. So the real secret here is embracing what's known as the middle way. By neither halting nor straining, you find that absolute perfect balance. You avoid the extreme of lazy stagnation on one end, and you avoid the extreme of exhausting hustle on the other. It's only by staying exactly in that balance center, that sweet spot, that you can successfully navigate the turbulent waters and finally reach safety.
And that leads right into part 4, dropping the world's bait based on SN1.2.
This deep understanding of the middle way is what ultimately brings us to the solution for finding absolute freedom. The Buddha makes it clear he knows the exact path to get there. First off, a seeker of peace, called a santikamo, has to actually acknowledge the flood and actively desire true peace. From there, you work to gain profound insight. But the critical step, and definitely the hardest one, is renouncing those sensual lures. You literally have to let go of the attachments entirely if you want to achieve vimukkhā, or true emancipation.
It all really culminates in this singular, wildly powerful truth. True peace comes from dropping the world's bait, not endlessly chasing it. Instead of just putting a Band-Aid on our deep anxieties about time and aging by cramming our lives with more activities, more achievements, and endless worldly merits, we achieve ultimate peace by letting go. We have to voluntarily drop the very bait that keeps us hooked and trapped in the rushing flood in the first place. As we wrap up this explainer on the Buddha's ancient wisdom, I want to leave you with one final vital thought to chew on. Knowing that time is constantly slipping away from us, and understanding that the middle way requires us to just let go of our frantic striving, what worldly bait are you still chasing?